Hi, welcome to another video from Habasa Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make our easy peasy chocolate cake. So the ingredients for this cake are nice and simple. We start with 400 ml of just tap water, 90 ml of vegetable oil, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 420 grams of plain flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 280 grams of sugar, I'm just using white granulated, and 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Optionally, you can use some chocolate chips, it'll be 100 grams roughly. I'm just going to sprinkle these on top before I put them in the oven. You can get these in most supermarkets, they're vegan, they use soy milk instead of dairy milk. So a few things you're going to need to create this cake are a cake tin. I'm using an 8-inch or 20 centimetre cake tin with a removable base. I'm going to grease that with some coconut oil, which is what the coconut oil is there for. And then a large bowl for mixing all the dry ingredients in and a jug for the wet ingredients. Now the first thing I'm going to do before we start mixing anything is heat the oven. So that needs to be 180 degrees centigrade or 160 fan assisted. And once you've got that on, you can then start mixing the ingredients together. So starting, as I said, with the wet ingredients. So I've already got my 430 ml of water. Then to that I need to add 90 millilitres of oil. And as I said, I'm using vegetable oil. And then just a teaspoon of the vanilla extract. So it's just a case of combining all of those ingredients and then you just set that aside while we combine the dry ingredients. So starting with your large bowl. So it's 420 grams of plain flour. So that's the flour. So the baking powder was just 1 tablespoon. Now it's a good idea just to whisk those two together just to evenly spread the baking powder among the flour. It just combines it. It allows the baking powder to work its chemistry in the oven. And it's 280 grams of sugar. And then just 4 tablespoons cocoa powder. So I'm using organic, unsweetened cocoa powder. Again, it's readily available in most supermarkets. So again, a good idea just to mix all that together, just lightly whisk it. Just try and remove any clumps of the cocoa powder. That's that done. So it's then, once you've done that, just a case of combining the wet with the dry and bring it together to form a sort of cake mixture. It's a good idea just to add it gradually and just keep trying to whisk it in a little bit at a time. I'll do sort of in either quarters or thirds. Just bring it together a little bit more. And the rest of it. So it's a little bit clumpy, so I'm just going to bring the wooden spoon in at this point. It does form quite a quite sort of wet, runny batter, but it's very effective. It makes a really delicious chocolate cake, and as I said at the start, it's nice and easy. You just have to keep mixing it until it's lump free, which you will achieve. You don't need to get the electric whisk out or anything like that, just a little bit of elbow grease there will get you where you need to be. So what I like to do is, once I've got it really well combined, I'll then just put the hand whisk into it, and just obviously the whisk speeds up the sort of de-lumping process. And before long you'll have a nice smooth batter ready to go in the cake tin. Something else you'll probably notice as you're whisking, you'll get quite a nice glossy finish to the batter. It sort of starts to shine and sort of reflect. And that's when you know it's coming together and it's almost ready to go into the cake tin. Okay, so just before I put that into the cake tin, I'm just going to use some coconut oil. And just grease the cake tin, especially the base and the sides. You can use baking parchment and just put a disc of it on the base. I prefer just use coconut oil. So that's ready to go. Okay, that's going to be ready to go in. So I'm literally just now going to pour the batter into the cake tin. Now I mentioned at the start that you can use the chocolate chips, and they are optional because you may want to actually frost the cake with the frosting of your choice. I prefer just to sprinkle those chocolate chips on top just before it's going in the oven, and I find that makes a very effective chocolate cake. So that's what I'm going to do next. Put all the batter in there. And it just takes about 100 grams to fill the whole cake. They do sink slightly, but it makes a nice layer of chocolate chips on the top, embedded into the cake. So with or without the chocolate chips, that's now ready to go in. It's going to take a good 40 minutes in the oven. I'd recommend just starting to look at 40 minutes, take it out, stick a prong in it, and if it comes out clean, then it's ready. If not, put it back in for a bit longer. Obviously, once it does get to 40 minutes, if you have to keep putting it back in, you can always cover it in tin foil, and that'll prevent the sort of outside of the cake from overcooking, because obviously at that point you just want to cook the inside. So that's coming out of the oven now. I'm going to do the knife check on it. So I'm just dropping the knife straight down the middle, and that, as you can see, it's come out nice and clean, indicating that the cake is ready. So I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is just leave it for, well, at least sort of 10-15 minutes so it can cool down, and then I'll just release it from the cake tin, and that'll be ready to go. Okay, so that's cooled down nicely now. I've actually left it for about half an hour, so I can touch the tin. Everything's now nice and cool. I'm just going to release this side of the tin, and that's come straight away, which is a good sign, so it hasn't stuck to the sides or anything like that. So there you can see the cake. It's nicely risen. There are some cracks around it, but that's probably just where the baking powder has become a little bit lively in the oven. Nothing to worry about. You're going to get things like that if you're not using eggs as a binding agent as well, so that's good. So there we are, there's the cake. So from here you can, obviously, if you haven't used the chocolate chips on top and you've just left it as a plain cake, you've got a nice base cake that you can then add your frosting to. You could even sort of slice it horizontally along the middle to cut it open and make it like a sandwich cake out of it. I've even seen people use chocolate spread as a topping for their cake, so that apparently works pretty well as well. You could even make it without using the cocoa powder and just make a sort of vanilla sponge cake. Otherwise, just enjoy the cake as it is. So that's the end of the video. If you do have a go at this yourself, please leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Also remember to like the video and please subscribe to our channel. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.